As you can see from the title below, this is a doppelganger slash glitch in the matrix video. It is subscribers edition, so it is true tea. If you like this kind of content, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and give it a subscribe. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot what I was about to say. Okay, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube be tripping. We're gonna get into the first one. No rambling. Let's go. Hey T, I just wanted to tell you I love your stories and thank you for reading mine. So get this. One day me and my mom were running errands before she dropped me off at my friend's house that lived 30 minutes away from me. Before stopping in this clothing store, we went to get some food. We stopped at a McDonald's and I think I just got a chicken sandwich and a sweet tea. We drove up to give the guy my card. After she gives him the card, he turns back to me and starts talking to me again. A few minutes go by and we just looked up at the guy and he starts talking to us. So my mom says, "Hey," and he responds, "Did you guys need anything else?" And she asks for her card back. Then he says, "I already gave it back." We then looked and there it was, sitting in the part of the car where you put the change in. My mom says, "Oh, okay," and drives off. After that, we couldn't stop thinking about how creepy that was. Like, when did he give us the card back? I don't know, because part of me likes to rationalize things, but then part of me believes that anything is possible and glitches in the matrix do happen. But for the people that like to rationalize, I feel like they would say maybe you guys were just talking so much to the point where you didn't realize he gave the card back. Maybe. Hi. I just saw your video from like an hour ago and just thought that I would share mine. So I was by myself this morning rethinking this whole situation because basically I gaslit myself into thinking it wasn't a glitch in the matrix and that I was just being paranoid. So the story goes as follows. P.S. It is really confusing. Sorry if it's hard to understand. My boss owns a small business and it isn't open every day of the week. She is open every other day, mainly Wednesdays and Fridays and the first Saturday of each month. Every Tuesday, she posts that she will be open the next day. So I messaged my boss and I asked her if I would be working that Wednesday. She replies the Wednesday morning and said that I wouldn't be working. I then continue on with my day. My mom comes back from work and we chat about her day. She proceeds to tell me that she has an important meeting on Wednesday at 4 p.m. I then tell her that it is Wednesday and she proceeds to tell me that it's not and it was Tuesday. At this point, I am so confused because I had a conversation with my boss this morning saying that she would be open and she can only be open on Wednesdays. I'm still confused, so I go onto my phone and it is in fact Tuesday. I checked the conversation with my boss and it never happened. I swore on my life that it happened. It never did. I don't know what happened, but it's some sort of glitch in the matrix effect. Enjoy your day. Oh my God. I've had something happen like that. And I've had it happen. I've had a situation that I know happened multiple times. And it didn't happen like I remembered, quote unquote, to the point like it almost felt like deja vu. I feel like you might have slipped into a different timeline. That's what I'd be thinking. You slipped into a different timeline. Is it a glitch or do I just need to quit? Hey girl, I am very much dyslexic, so I hope you don't have trouble reading this. See, I don't know if I was high or if it was a glitch in the matrix or what, but I thought I'd share this with you. So one time I was chilling with my best friend, Jay, at his house, and we made some edibles. Okay. Send me a few. We made a tray of brownies and I thought, you know what? This smells good. It didn't even smell like loud or anything. It genuinely smelled good when it came out the oven. So Jay decides he wanted to eat this with some ice cream. We brought everything upstairs because he didn't want his family to accidentally eat some. So we're eating the brownies with ice cream now. It tastes so good. We kept having more. Now it's 2 brownies left and we heard his mom coming out of the bedroom. She opens the door and looks at us. His mom was wearing a headscarf, blue top, and an anchor wrap. She was looking very comfortable. She says, "What's wrong with you guys? What do you put inside this cake?" I'm looking at Jay like, answer her, because if I speak, it's over. We're getting caught. So we sat there for what felt like 5 minutes, and she goes over to reach for the brownie tray to get some. And Jay tells her there's nothing inside of the brownies, we're fine. We then had like a 10-minute conversation about how her day was and what she did at work and stuff, and then she left the room. As soon as she left the room, Jay's phone starts ringing and it's his mom. He shouts to her like, "Why are you calling me?" But she didn't respond. So he answers the phone and his mom says, "Hey, are you and Angelique hungry? I'm gonna go get some food before I get home." So I was like, "What the fuck?" He said to her, "What do you mean, Mom? We just saw you." She was equally confused and accused us of being high, so we thought she was pranking us. He hung up the call and then went to go check the driveway, but her car wasn't even there. We sat in the living room for like 10 minutes trying to understand what happened. Then his mom comes home. She comes in the house wearing pants and a curly wig. She had literally just got home from work. I almost had a heart attack. Who on earth did we speak to? For a long time it bugged me. Even though we were high, we both saw the same thing. That's never happened to me before. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Love you lots. Girl, thank you. I love you too. Doppelganger? Is that a glitch or a doppelganger? But usually in doppelganger stories, the doppelganger is not friendly and they don't usually speak. So I don't know. Did y'all hallucinate? Y'all put a little extra? Nah, I don't know. Listen, I ain't no skeptic. So you know, if you ask T, you saw her. Okay? You saw her. She was there. Y'all ain't hallucinating nothing. Ghost or glitch? When I was about 7 or 8, my sister would always have to babysit me while my parents went on business seminars or business meetings through the weekdays. My sister was around 16, so it was no big deal. My parents would dress up in business attire, dress shoes, and usually heels. They would give my sister money to order us pizza, set the alarm to the house, and then leave. We would have to disarm the alarm before opening any doors or windows though. We lived in a ranch style home, so we had just the main floor and finished basement that we used to entertain ourselves. Whenever my dad wasn't home, we would take this opportunity to use the big TV in the basement. Hours had gone by this time it's nighttime, and we were doing what we always did. This was the early 2000s, and my sister was on the house phone with her friends for the better part of the night, while I watched Cousin Skeeter on the TV. If you know, you know. The next thing you know, we hear sounds. The sounds sound like my parents walking upstairs from their bedroom throughout the hallways on the wood floor with their dress shoes on. We both stopped and looked at each other. Were we tripping or not? No alarm went off. We didn't even hear a car pull up or anything of the sort. My sister hung up the phone to call my dad. No answer. No cell phone ringing, nothing. We no longer heard the footsteps, but I'm staring at my sister wide-eyed to see who's going to be brave enough to check upstairs. My sister mustered up the courage to go upstairs, checking all the rooms. I went up to the top stairway, waiting for her confirmation, and nothing or nobody was there. The alarm was still set. We both settled back downstairs with the TV on mute, trying to make sense of things, and the phone rings. My sister answers, and nothing's on the other line, but it was my dad on the caller ID. He never answered when we called back, though. We didn't go back upstairs until my parents came home. And when we asked my parents if they were playing a joke on us, they were clueless. So my sister went to school the next day, and a friend of hers asked my sister, where did she go last night? Because our dad answered the phone when she called the house, and he said that she wasn't home right now. But our dad, in fact, was not home during that time, especially not when she said she had called. But we did have some strange occurrences happen. My dad was a techie, so it wouldn't be far-fetched for him to forward calls. But he was clueless when we asked, and he said he didn't do anything like this. We're both very grown now, and we still have no answers for this night. It's one thing to have paranormal stuff happen to you when you are alone, but when someone else is there to verify it, it's undeniable. P.S. Love your content. Do you think my parents were there in another dimension, or was it a ghost playing a trick on all of us? That's tricky. See, that's a tricky one, because sometimes I do think timelines cross like that. I mean, listen, I'm just a believer, so I believe anything, because that could have happened, because it doesn't sound too paranormal. I'm gonna go ahead and say the dimensions, that the timelines lapped. I mean, I know people be like, girl, be for real. I am. I'm a believer because it's either that or paranormal. And for the non-believers, like, what's your explanation? If you don't believe, give an explanation for what you think it is, because a lot of people don't believe in the paranormal, which I don't know how, but that's crazy. And thank you so much for your support. Thank all of you guys for your support. So when I was younger, my dad had a dog named Benji. We had a nice sized backyard for him to run around in, but at some point he would begin to find a way out the yard. One day, he had got out and didn't come back for a couple of days. Eventually, he came back. The way we knew he came back was because he was scratching on the front door so we would let him in. So from that day on, whenever we would let Benji into the yard, we would have to tie him up to this big tree. He had room to move around and do his business, but just enough to the point where he wouldn't get out the fence. Well, one day my parents found Benji unalive, still chained up to the tree. We still to this day don't know the cause of death. Some of us think that he was shot and some of us think that he was attacked, but either way, it's an unsolved mystery. The creepy part was that me and my sister would sleep in the same bed when I would come over because I didn't live there, so I didn't have my own bed or room. Anyway, we were both afraid of the dark at night, so we would always sleep in the bed up against the closet door. So you know how when it's two people in a bed, one person will sometimes sleep with their head towards the bottom part of the bed and the other at the top, so like head to toe? Well, her punk ass had me sleeping at the bottom part, so my head was right next to the closet door. So I'm sleeping and I hear scratching coming from the closet door. I wake up and I call out my sister. I ask her, "Did you hear that?" She said, "Hear what?" I said, "It sounds like scratching coming from the closet. You didn't hear it?" She was like, "You tripping, ain't no scratching coming from that closet." I'm like, okay, whatever. I know I heard something. So we lay back down and probably 5 minutes later, I hear the scratching again. But this time, she hears it too. And just like her scary butt, she made me open the closet door, but there was nothing there. It took a while for us to go back to sleep, but we never heard it again. I was so young, but I'll never forget that house or that situation. I think that there were other spirits living in that house as well. The reason I say that is because my brother and sister used to do sinister stuff. I believe they may have been invoked by some type of evil spirit, because when we left that house, they stopped. Thank you for reading my story. I've known about your channel for a while, but I didn't know that you had Glitch in the Matrix series. I really love hearing other people's stories. They make me feel better about mine. Sierra Anderson. That is crazy, and I really do think that that was probably paranormal, because if you think that there were already other spirits in that house, then yeah. Hello, my name is V. I am 24 years old. I want to share my experience with a doppelganger. Well, possibly, you tell me. In 2022, my little brother, who was 17 years old, passed away. When he passed away, I was the one to find the crash scene. And I was the one to help the police identify if it was him. He was already being rushed to the hospital. The crash happened outside of my mother's apartment complex. I was walking the family dog when it happened. This may seem irrelevant, but my mother has always told me that I have a spiritual gift and I am unsure how to use it. Anyway, my younger brother and I used to work at Walmart together. When he passed away, it took me almost 3 weeks to return back to work. I worked an early morning shift. The day I went back, I felt fine. Then all of a sudden, when I walked into Walmart, a boy, the same skin tone, height, weight, hairstyle, and everything appeared to walk in front of me. I let out a huge gasp, but when the boy turned around, it was my brother. I could obviously tell it wasn't my brother because my brother is deceased now. But I'm not sure if this was a doppelganger or my brother sending me a sign. I have one more encounter that I would like to share. In December 2022, I decided that my stay with my mom had ended. I stayed with her from March to December because I was pregnant and I had to deliver my baby in May. As me and my daughter boarded our plane, we sat in the front row with priority boarding so that we boarded first. I watched everyone get on the plane and I didn't see this woman I'm about to tell you about. When we landed in our destination, I stood up. I looked around and I saw 3 rows behind me. It was a woman. She was a spitting image of my mother. The only difference was she was much slimmer than my mom. I looked at her, not noticing that I'd probably been staring at her for 30 seconds or more. She also looked at me and we locked eyes for about 10 seconds. I felt as if I knew her and she knew me. I took it as a sign that my mom was encouraging me to come back to the city that I had left to raise my daughter and that I would be okay. Although my mom isn't deceased, it gave me a weird feeling. And I told my mom about the situation and she said that she had a premonition that she was on the same plane as me. What does these experiences mean, girl? That's crazy. That's very, very creepy for one. Especially since your mother isn't deceased. I don't know what that could have been. Maybe it was a doppelganger. That's creepy. But I feel like premonitions is something that you see like in the future. It hasn't happened yet, but it's gonna happen. So I don't know if that was a premonition that she saw, or y'all listen, I don't know, don't turn to me for the answers. I'm a stickler for spooky Reddit stories, but this is mine. So back in 2011, I had just got my license. My brother recently came to the Navy, so neither of us had a car. I was driving my mom's. My brother worked about 30 minutes from where we stayed, so I wasn't allowed to pick him up from work. Someone would drop him off at the gas station midpoint and we'd meet halfway. This was our routine for months. I would wait for him to get dropped off and then we'd go home. One morning I was at the gas station waiting for over an hour and eventually I just left. It was 8 a.m. so I went to the store that was down the street from our house. When I got back home, my brother was already there. I was so confused. He told me he started walking home because he waited for me, but I never showed up. So he called my dad while walking home and he picked him up and drove him the rest of the way. Now let me explain the way he walked home. There's no way I would not have seen him. And how did we not see each other waiting at the gas station? I ended up getting in trouble from my mom because she thought I was at a boy's house. This whole time I thought my brother was lying about where he was. Last year I asked him about it and he came to the conclusion that it was definitely a glitch because it didn't make any damn sense. Our stories never changed, even after 10 plus years. That's definitely a glitch. It was like y'all were on the same timeline but like different dimensions. That's crazy. I think stuff like that can happen too. I don't know how it happens, but I believe. One thing you can do is color me a believer. Your scary story times are so interesting, but I be so scared, and ever since I watched them, I've been seeing shadows. And when I look in the mirror, it's kind of scary. It's happened since I was 14. I'm 16 now, but my eyes look like they were getting bigger. For the first time I watched your story time, I think I had a paranormal experience because my heart randomly sped up and it felt like I was physically stuck in my bed. I couldn't open my eyes, and I also had experiences where I felt something pushing down or weighing down on me in my covers. Once I even felt myself fall into bed, but I was already laying down. I also saw me floating above myself. I told my mom, mind you, and she's spiritual, and she told me that I was just astral projecting, or I astral projected. Okay, I don't want to say your name, but did you send this from your school? Because this got something about your school under it. Ma'am, don't be watching me in school sending emails. Okay, but listen, it sounds like you had sleep paralysis, which I've heard sleep paralysis is just a gateway to astral projection, which I didn't know that. So I mean, next time if I ever get sleep paralysis again, I won't be scared of it. Listen, do your own research. Don't listen to T, because I don't want to be blamed for nothing. Because you already said after you watched my story time, your heart started speeding up, and I don't want to be the cause for that. Hey girl, I'm back with another scary story. I was watching your doppelganger video and it had me thinking of an experience I had. A few years back, I was spending the night at my grandma's house. That night, I was sleeping next to my grandma in her room when I was woken up in a panic. It felt like my soul left my damn body. I was woken up to my face all distorted. It looked demonic. I had cuts all over my face and my hair looked crazy. It looked like one of those exorcism movies. Now, I don't know if it was just a nightmare. Do you remember the last story I sent you about the shadow people I woke up to? But it always seems like something is messing with me in my sleep. Girl, I probably need to go to church. I didn't get that email about the shadow people, but if you wouldn't mind sending that one again, that would be a good one to read for this series. A few years ago, I kept having a reoccurring dream that an old friend and her two sons came to visit me and my boys. We have known each other since her youngest and my oldest were born. So her oldest asked me if he could take my son and his young brother to the park a few blocks away. I was fine with it because her son is very mature for a 12-year-old. And my son, only being 9, is well behaved and mature as well. But she felt uneasy about it and decided to walk them there. You had to cross a freeway overpass on the last block to the park. They had been gone for some time now and I thought nothing of it. Suddenly I got a phone call. It was from my friend. She's frantically screaming and the only thing I could make out was that my son had been hit by a car. I ran all the way to the park only to find a crowd of people around the accident scene. My heart dropped. I instantly started crying. My son was pinned to a tree and a car smashed into his midsection, but he still seemed calm. Before I could get to him, a medic stopped me and basically told me that the car wedged between him was the only thing keeping him alive, and once the car moved, he wouldn't survive. I had so many irrational thoughts, from thinking that the medic was lying because he seemed so fine, I didn't see any damage or blood, to the thought of just keeping the car there and never moving it so I wouldn't lose my son. When he then told me that they would have to move the car eventually because my son would bleed out, I just sat talking to him, holding his hand, kissing his cheeks, trying not to cry and being strong so not to scare him. I always woke up from the dream before they moved the car. I always woke up in tears and would immediately go check on my boys. This dream haunted me for months. When my son was about 7, this friend and her boys did come to visit, and we all sat around talking. Out of nowhere, her oldest asked, "Is there a park anywhere near the house?" I instantly remember my dream and I almost freaked out, telling him that they could go. Then my friend offered to walk with them. I almost wanted her and her kids to leave. It was just like in my dream. It was trying to come true no matter how many ways I tried to stop it. Eventually, they settled for playing kickball in the front yard with both of us out there watching. After a half an hour, we heard a loud crash and we ran out to the front to see what was going on. There was a car that had slammed into a light pole diagonally across from my house. I almost fainted on the spot. Luckily, no one was hurt. From that day on, I never had that dream again, but it felt so real. It felt so real that I would get sick just thinking about it. That's like, okay, see, now that's what I would call a premonition. That's what I would call a premonition, because even though it didn't happen the way you saw it happen, and that's what premonitions like. Sometimes our day-to-day life choices can change the premonition. Like you said, it crashed into a tree, but you told them instead of going to the park, you said that they could play in the front yard. So the car ended up crashing into a light pole. That changed the course of the premonition. I'm a believer. Oh my God, I'm in awe. It sounds like a movie. Like, that was a good one. That was a good one to end off with. If y'all have any other stories, I really do enjoy reading y'all stories. Or if you sent the story in and I didn't get it, because this is all the stories that I have. If you sent it in, please resend it. I would love to read y'all stories. I love reading y'all stories. Please resend it, okay? Y'all already know the vibes. Oh, send it to send it to spookytyt@gmail.com. The email will be in the description. Send it to there, and I just can't wait to read y'all stories. Okay, y'all already know the vibe. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave anything in the comments. Comment your own experience, but if it's long, definitely email me so I can make it into a video. Make sure you are subscribed, because YouTube be tripping. With your notifications on so you can get notified every time your girl posts. Y'all already know the vibes. I love y'all so much, and I'm gonna see y'all in my next one. Bye. I could have been astral projecting into your house. Listen, hey girl, I'm back with another scary story. Yes, hold on babe. A booga booga.